Hi, how's that looking? Are you content or at ease? Are you peachy? Together? And in a nice little bunch. However, these lighting conditions are not going to last, so the faster I get this message out the way, the better. But I don't even know why I would want to get this out the way fast, because there's no power. What am I going to do in the dark? Just languish, bite my fingernails, wonder why they are treating me like John Campbell? Literally, the Bible says that many things God despises. He loathes them. He literally can't deal, okay, to a point where he needs to be fanned type establishment thing. And among them is the man who sows discord between brothers. Not only that, is a false witness. Like lies are the bane of God's existence. Herein lies the deal. The father of the world is the devil, and he is indeed the father of lies, a murderer from the beginning. All he does is just fib, okay? Pseudo logia fantastica. He is a pathological liar, like Pinocchio. He's got a long sharp nose, and nobody's trying to chop it up fast enough, since it is wood. Satan and his conglomerates, his minions on the ground, his pinkies, are running information to the ground, and they are refusing new content creators that are truthy from carrying on with what they want to do. I will never grow unless there is a pushback by a global citizenship to stop this nonsense from happening. And herein lies the motivation for it, okay? Herein lies the motivation for it. Who in the world wants to be controlled by 2 or 3 or 5 random megalomaniacal souls who wants to tell you exactly what to eat? They want to tell you not to put meat in your mouth. If you like meat, eat it. Even the Bible is pro-meat. Christ ate fish, for crying out loud, when he was walking these streets, yet they don't want you eating meat. They want you to have absolutely nothing and be happy. And the reason why they want to hand you out freebies, a socialistic system, is the bane of God's existence, guys. Like even the new converts in the early church, in the Acts of the Apostles, some might argue that that is a socialistic regime, but it's not, because it is. The Bible makes it clear, Christ, that if anybody does not want to work, let them not eat. Everybody pulled their weight, and so they were fed. It is a pooling together of resources where people must pull their weight to indeed, by the sweat of their brow, earn their keep. That is how God works. So a system where you put in work, basically a capitalistic one, for a reward, is pro-God. So do not mistake Christianity for being this communistic, socialistic establishment. It isn't. God cannot stand slovenly sitting by people who literally just buy the bleachers, watch a match, while in and of themselves they spread, they get fat, and get all different kinds of complications for health because of how fat they are. The Lord is pro-work. It's literally that basic. And yet, these global elites are trying to push a society where you don't gotta work, you just gotta agree, and we will give you food. Can you imagine how many slothful, lazy souls out there will be happy to take the mark of the beast just insofar as you can feed them, since they've been hungry all this time? Can you imagine how many people that have not earned their keep? I, personally, am a victim of unjust scales, of inequality, of having somebody be rewarded with the sweat of my brow. The work of my hands has been awarded as a gift to other people. I watched it happen when I was in corporate. I watched it happen when I was in high school. I watched it happen so many times. I literally, for the life of me, especially because I'm a black woman, I have had so many people steal my kudos and my street cred. They have stolen literally verbatim quotations I have spoken from out of my mouth and used them and gotten rewarded for the ingenuity of the thing that was just spoken. I have experienced so much theft of my IP, my intellectual property, all throughout my life, that I have done nothing but languish and seek the Lord's, by the time I came to Christ, I sought the Lord's face to give me justice in a world that refuses to admit that a black girl can be that smart. I had a boss when I was working at MTN that I remember one time doing this like all night long presentation. Literally, I was working on it. I burnt the midnight oil, barely slept, perhaps maybe 2 hours at most, entered into the shower, just like yawning still. And I got to work to try and present my work or my findings to an executive in the room. And because she was trying to impress him, she literally read word for word my PowerPoint presentation and told me to keep quiet, or at least gestured in a way so as to suggest, Garaba, don't speak. I could not. You know how when you do your own PowerPoint presentation, you come up with keywords and then you expand on them, so you have the detail. You have got the detail of what under heaven it is that you're going to speak on. Like you put a bullet point. A bullet point is not the grand information. It is not the overarching information. It is not the overall, the bankable body of knowledge that needs to be explained. You're going to unpack it. That is the very purpose of a bullet point. And this boss of mine, lacking the remaining context of what I was going to speak and the information tied to every last bullet point, literally read. It sounded robotic. from my PowerPoint presentation, refusing to let me speak and expand on very important points. I was even embarrassed for her in portions where the guy in the room that she was trying to impress was asking for, indeed, elaboration. Like, would you mind speaking more on this? Give me more information. And she just was like, she gave him the wrong information because she didn't have it. She didn't plan it. I was the one with the information in my brain. But because she did not want for the life of her me to be impressive in front of a man in the organization that had power to be like, who is that girl? I like her. Let's put her on this project. I want her close to me. Just because she did not want my agenda pontificated, and just because she was in and of herself competitive with me, my own boss, she embarrassed herself by reading word for word my PowerPoint presentation. Such things as these have been the bane of my existence, and I took them to God and I was like, Father, this nonsense. I remember even after she gave me a wicked appraisal score, crying over Psalm 37 in the Bible on some, why have you allowed the wicked to prosper? What is going on? I ended up losing my job, indeed, because of the same thing. False witness and rewards being given to those that have not worked like a dog to earn them. A society like that ends up with mediocre souls, while the geniuses of this world that can shift entire paradigms are disregarded and overlooked. And so mediocrity becomes a general overarching scheme of things. And when then mediocrity is society's bread, we are dealing with a world that is no longer advancing. So if at all you want 5 or 10 people to run you insofar as you can eat bread, understand that people who hate working, who like reading of people's PowerPoint presentations and don't have the overall like context of what is going to be spoken, and don't have the information that is elaborated to unpack it before a seated body of executives, those people are going to get ignored. But people who are happy to do that, to pounce on other people's IP, they're going to be the ones, you must understand, in the tribulation that are going to take the mark of the beast. They're going to be the people that have been lazy literally all their freaking lives. They've been sitting around gathering dust, spreading, making the show My 500-Pound Life. All they do is just gather information from other people and use it as their own. All the cheats in university who did not want to study, but who managed to pass because they cheated their way through university. They're going to be the global citizenship of comfortable, pampered souls that have got apartments, that have got food, that have got everything. People who have not worked. These things are an abomination to Emmanuel. If anybody does not want to work, let them not eat. So a socialistic agenda is essentially there for the sake of controlling people. Give us your power and we will give you food. And guess what, lazy people? A whole bunch of you that are running these streets, literally making up a whole chunk of like society. We will give you bread that you have not earned. We will feed you when you should be starving. You should be emaciated. Hey, the Bible said if anybody does not want to work, let them not eat. We tell them if you want to abide by our agenda, we will feed you. You will get fat and you will be the one. Since, I guess, safety in numbers, like listen, world elites have always, or global elites, like the top 2% in the planet, they've always gotten overwhelmed or cooed. Do you guys understand? By disquieted and rebellious or, unhappy masses on the ground. Think about the French Revolution. Think about even how we overcame apartheid or slavery, the types of setup thing. It's always been the majority of people on the ground that are like, no, I'm sorry, you're not going to do this. So, like I said, they feel like they've learned their lesson, and so they're not going to grate or annoy or berate the masses because they always get cooed. They've been historically always getting cooed by masses on the ground that revolt and that riot and they say, we're not doing this. So now they're going to come with an agenda of love. You know how the Antichrist is written of him? Some people who speculate that the guy on the white horse who comes conquering and not to conquer has a bow, but that bow doesn't have an arrow, is that he is the dude that negotiates peace and gets the world to be subdued under him without using war, because war has historically failed. When you fight people, they fight back, they punch back, they feel like if you're going to bring a knife to the knife fight, I'm going to bring a gun. That's how human beings are. So if you bring peace and palatability, if you bring them food, if you make like Robin Hood, steal from the rich and give to the poor, a communist, they are going to fall for you. Literally, they have seen that referent power works better than authoritarian or positional power. They have seen that to be charming and engaging is better to win the masses. So the Antichrist is going to be that dude who is going to win the masses over with peace, win the masses over with loaves of bread, win the masses over with homes. He's going to win them over with freebies that they have not worked for, insofar as they will abide by his controlling agenda. So if you get a conglomerate, a mass of human beings on the earth to agree with you, you are going to cease revolutionizing your lands through the rebels on the ground that keep on disagreeing with Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI. You are going to get people who are going to feel besotted with their leadership, insofar as you can make them believe that that leadership is worth their while to be besotted with. Next part.